the silent architect of greatness, introducing Jim Rohn. In a world that moves with breathless speed, where overnight success is glorified and authenticity often lost in the chase, there existed a man who spoke with such calm clarity that even the loudest ambitions paused to listen. His name? Jim Rohn. Not a titan by appearance, not a man of theatrical speeches or Hollywood sheen, but within the folds of his simple words lived profound power. Power that awakened dormant dreams, redefined the measure of wealth, and inspired a generation to rise above mediocrity with purpose and poise. To speak of Jim Rohn is to speak of a quiet revolution. A revolution not fueled by noise, but by timeless truths. In an era that chases the next new thing, Rohn brought us back to the basics, the kind of basics that, when understood and applied, could move mountains. He believed in the power of philosophy over panic, of discipline over distraction, and of character over convenience. And he made personal development not just an idea, but a way of life. A humble beginning. Born Emmanuel James Rohn in 1930 in the rural simplicity of Yakima, Washington, Jim Rohn's life was unremarkable by every conventional metric. He was raised on a modest farm in Idaho, far from the glamour of boardrooms and bestseller lists. His parents were hardworking people, devoted to principles, discipline, and integrity. The soil beneath their feet was not just farmland. It was the foundation upon which Rohn's entire philosophy would be built. You don't get paid for the hour. You get paid for the value you bring to the hour. Before he became the philosopher of success, Rohn was an average man with average ambitions. He dropped out of college after just 1 year and wandered through early adulthood, drifting from job to job, searching not just for a career, but for a reason to believe in himself. By age 25, he was broke, behind on his promises, and unsure of his future. It was then that fate, or perhaps grace, led him to a mentor named Earl Schoaf, a self-made millionaire who would change the trajectory of his life forever. The moment everything changed. When Jim Rohn met Earl Schoaf at a business conference, he did not realize that he was standing before the key to his own transformation. Schoaf didn't dazzle him with strategies or gimmicks. He didn't promise wealth or fame. Instead, he challenged Rohn with a single question. "Jim, what's your plan?" That question haunted him. He had no plan, just a series of hopes and a pile of regrets. But from that haunting came hunger. Under Schoaf's guidance, Rohn learned one of the most important lessons of his life. Success is not something you pursue. Success is something you attract by becoming an attractive person. This idea ignited something within him. He began to study, to read, to observe, to write, and more importantly, to change. First from the inside out. By age 31, Jim Rohn had become a millionaire. But unlike most who amass wealth, he was not interested in flaunting it. He was more intrigued by what caused it, what habits, disciplines, and philosophies led him there. He wanted to break it down, distill it, and share it not as a formula but as a mindset. From student to sage. What began as informal talks at Rotary clubs and local seminars soon grew into a movement. People were drawn not just to what Rohn said, but how he said it. His voice, even toned and steady, carried the gravitas of a man who had lived what he preached. He didn't shout. He didn't sell hype. He offered insight, served plainly but powerfully, like a simple meal that nourishes deeper than the richest delicacies. Rohn's wisdom felt ancient and modern all at once. He had the ability to reduce life's chaos into clean, actionable truths. Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines practiced every day, he'd say. And suddenly, the unreachable seemed within reach. His philosophy rested on personal responsibility, intentional living, and the understanding that every day is either a deposit or a withdrawal from your future. He didn't promise ease, he promised growth. And people listened. The man who spoke in parables. Jim Rohn wasn't just a speaker. He was a modern-day philosopher in a business suit. His teachings were like parables, short, rich, and layered with meaning. He would speak of the seasons of life as a metaphor for how to prepare for hardship and harvest. He would talk about setting the sail of your life, suggesting that it wasn't the blowing of the wind but the set of the sail that determined your direction. These metaphors weren't just clever, they were transformative. They gave language to experiences people didn't know how to describe. They offered structure in a world that often feels chaotic. And they sparked a sense of ownership in everyone who heard them. Rohn made you believe that your life was not the product of luck, but of design, your design. A legacy of mentors. It is one thing to build a following. It is another to build leaders. Jim Rohn did both. His influence reads like a who's who of the personal development world. Tony Robbins, arguably the most recognized name in the field, credits Rohn as his first and most impactful mentor. Darren Hardy, author of The Compound Effect, considers Rohn's teachings foundational to his philosophy. And thousands of other coaches, entrepreneurs, authors, and executives trace their awakening back to a dusty cassette tape, a live seminar, or a dog-eared copy of the 5 major pieces to the life puzzle. But Rohn didn't seek stardom. In fact, he often shunned it. He was a gardener of minds, not a collector of fame. His real passion was planting seeds, ideas that could grow in the hearts of others long after he was gone. And indeed, they did. They still do. Why he still matters. In an age dominated by digital noise and fast answers, Jim Rohn's teachings feel like a quiet sanctuary. He reminds us that there are no shortcuts to a meaningful life. That discipline is more important than motivation. That reading is more powerful than scrolling. That who you become is infinitely more valuable than what you achieve. He taught us that success is not a mystery, but a mastery. Not an accident, but an outcome. He gave us the tools to take charge of our own stories, to become authors, not just actors. And in doing so, he didn't just change lives. He gave people permission to become. His words still ring with elegant urgency. Don't wish it were easier. Wish you were better. If you don't like how things are, change it. You're not a tree. These are not slogans. They are summons. And those who heed them often find themselves on a path not just to success, but to significance. The Jim Rohn philosophy, a life blueprint. Rohn's philosophy can be summarized, but never fully contained. It stretches into every corner of life. Money, relationships, health, work, time. But at its core lies a few simple, unshakable truths. 1. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. Success is an inside job. The more you grow, the more you can give. 2. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Motivation fades. Discipline sustains. 3. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Environment is not neutral. It either elevates or erodes you. 4. Formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. Never stop learning. 5. Take full responsibility for your life. Blame is the language of victims. Responsibility is the voice of freedom. Each of these ideas is a gateway. They open the door to a better life, but only if you're willing to walk through. Final reflections. The echo of a legend. Jim Rohn passed away in December 2009, but he left behind something far more enduring than a biography. He left behind a blueprint for becoming. He taught us that greatness does not arrive overnight, nor does it come from the applause of others. It is carved day by day in the quiet places, through small choices, consistent effort, and unwavering values. He never sought to be a hero. He never needed to, because true legends don't stand in front of the crowd. They stand behind it, whispering words of courage, wisdom, and hope until the crowd finds its voice. And so, Jim Rohn continues to speak. In journals, in audiobooks, in dusty notepads, and new podcasts. In the hearts of those who once sat in the back of the room, listening, taking notes, changing. His legacy is not built of brick or marble. It is built of minds awakened, lives reimagined, and dreams reignited. He was not a man of spectacle. He was a man of substance. A rare kind of leader who didn't just point to the summit, but taught us how to climb it. If ever there was a legend made not of lightning but of light, it was Jim Rohn.